I'd like to welcome Mystery Ranch as a sponsor to the Western Huntsman. This is a great product. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Mysterium line. Those packs include the Sawtooth 45, the Sawtooth 65, the Beartooth 85, and the Marshall 105, depending on what you're doing with the pack. If you from day pack to backcountry, plenty of space. I like what they wrote on the website. Between the disciplines of calculated preparation and in-the-moment focus, an intangible alchemy exists. We call it Mysterium. It is our most ambitious, tech-rich line of Mystery Ranch hunting packs constructed for the most methodical hunters. I'd agree with that. It's a great pack, guys. I really like the ventilation system. When you put it on, it's nice and tight, but you're still breathing a little bit less of that buildup between the pack and your back when you're sweating and out there packing through the mountains and whatnot. It's a super functional pack, very comfortable, very good at carrying loads. I've been using it all spring between bear and just like I do a lot of rucking to keep in shape, and it has done a phenomenal job. I've got a lot of top-of-the-line packs out there, and I've always kind of geeked out with packs, but I really do like the weight distribution and the way that it allows you multiple options as to where you're going to either carry a water bladder or one of those Contigo containers or whatever you're going to use. Really impressed. I love the ease of how everything functions on it, too. You don't need to watch a bunch of videos to figure out how to undo everything to pack a bunch of meat out. That's really important for a guy like me, I promise. I'm not super smart. So the simplicity, the comfort, the load distribution, it all makes for a wonderful backcountry hunting pack. If you are in the market, check it out at mysteryranch.com/Mysterium. Back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway, where you can go into a store and start making payments on some high-dollar ticket item, and once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, and it was the first weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down, it wasn't my dad's, it wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money, and so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it, and the cheaper scopes were all sold out, and so I bumped up to this entry-level Leupold scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a Leupold scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the Leupold Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And Leupold, guys, you know them. Everybody knows Leupold. They've been around since 1907. They started as a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff, you can find it all at Leupold.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company, and I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to make this elk season your best season yet? If you answered yes, my friends, you are in the right place. From the Western Huntsman podcast, brought to you by Phelps Game Calls, welcome to the School of September, the most comprehensive elk hunting series on the planet. We bring you the world's top archery elk experts to talk strategy, calling, and everything else to get you one step closer to some of your wildest dreams. From the Broken Tine Studio to your knowledge toolbox, class is in session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Town studio right here in Northwest Montana. And we are going to throw together an episode. Me and my buddy here, Josh Caple, this joining me, are a little unprepared for this one, and we kind of threw it together at the last minute. But I think there's a lot that needs to be covered over there. We've talked a lot on this show in years past about some of the the issues and the challenges that they face over in Washington with the anti-hunting movement and this insane commission board that's been giving us fits for several years now. And so we're going to cover a little bit of that. And I think it's important too, because this time of year, here it is August, summer, is in full swing. We're all out there. I just got back from a camping trip. And we kind of get real focused on the upcoming season. And this is actually a really sneaky time for those anti-hunting folks that and these activist folks to kind of sneak in like into legislative sessions and different things going on. I don't know how else to say it. They're real sneaky about it. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of cover some of that and take a little break from school of September and some other things that we're talking about, so we can kind of get a handle and make sure we're helping our friends in Washington. Because again, guys, like this stuff, it'll happen in Washington, it'll fester somewhere like that, then it spreads to places like Idaho and Wyoming and Utah and Montana, all these pro hunting states that don't have this big number of activism going on. And so Josh is no stranger to the show. He's been on the show. We've bear hunted together. We've got a very secret spot that we'll never share with anybody that we both know and hunt hard. And it's in Idaho. And so, Josh, I appreciate you joining me, brother. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim. Very happy to have the opportunity to come and talk to you any chance I get.
Well, and me too, man. It's always an honor having you guys, anybody involved with the Conservation Coalition of Washington, especially. But you and I, we've, it's like kind of, we haven't hunted a ton together, but what did we spend a day or two hunting bears together last year?
That's right, last fall.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was, that point of time in fall when any bear activity was pretty much limited to nocturnal stuff, but
yeah,
get out there and see what's going on and sort of feel the patterns out for year after year.
Yeah, I went up there. It was so funny, man. To that particular spot, I bought the because now I'm a non-resident in Idaho. I live in Montana now, but I bought I got that lifetime hunting license out of Idaho.
Right.
So I bought my elk tag. And I went up to that spot where you and I met up and hunted bears, and I was hunting elk last fall. And because if you don't tag out during archery season, you have like 5 days where you can go in with a rifle and hunt elk, And so I'm sitting in this spot where I had seen while bear hunting, a really nice couple of bulls come through, and I got really good video of them. But elk season was still open for the B taggers. But I had an A tag. And so I'm sitting there, these bulls walk through, whatever, no bears. So I go back up there like the next week to see if those two bull elk would come through there again. And, man, if I didn't have the two biggest whitetail bucks I've like ever seen in the wild bed down 50 yards in front of I was in a ground blind. These gigantic bucks walk out just to the right of that bait barrel for the bears that we have set up there. Just to the right, man. These giant whitetail bucks come walking out, and I don't have I had a bear tag for Idaho and an elk tag for Idaho, and I cheaped out and didn't buy the deer tag. Otherwise, I would have sauced a monster whitetail, man. I mean, I thought it was an elk walking in when I first saw him, and to make it worse, he bedded down in the brush 50 yards in front of me and just laid there for like an hour. It was incredible. It was incredible.
Smell that lack of a tag.
I totally, man. Totally. I could have swore, because it wasn't that long after I'd set up the ground blind. I mean, it couldn't have been more than 20 minutes. I feel like he would have heard me coming in there, but I don't know. Maybe I was sneaky enough.
He might have been. Yeah. Funny thing about that site, that site no longer has a barrel. That site now has a pit as of this spring. something stole that barrel.
Really?
Yes, it's gone, vanished.
It's gone, huh? Is my camera gone?
Nope, camera's there. So I know it wasn't a human. It was about 2 weeks after it had been baited.
Really?
Yep, gone up for a recheck, and it's just gone. And you know that area.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone down in 3 directions, really far, really fast. So, but there's no drag marks or anything. And that particular area was so active during baiting this spring that it was. I don't know in your time in that particular area if you ever found a lot of bear crap around the bait site. I never.
Yeah.
You did? Yeah. This year it was probably like somebody had 15 dogs and they lived on a 1/4 acre lot and never cleaned up.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah.
Crazy.
That's interesting, man. I'll bet you what, if where we set up in that little spot to watch the barrel, a lot of those bears come out of that left draw, that drainage down to the left, and that's real steep down there. I'll bet you if we wandered down there, we'd find that barrel.
That's what I was thinking. We'd have to take the trip down there one of these times.
One time I was sitting there and up out of that drainage to the left there, I see this big black thing just meandering through the sticks, and it's real thick for you listeners. It's real thick country in there, and man, I thought it was this giant bear coming in, and then as soon as it cleared the brush, I had my rifle ready, all sorts of stuff, It was a moose, big old moose, cow moose, and she walks out. But it was funny because you know how you get that kind of almost buck fever thing, real excitement going on, and I'm like, this thing's a monster, because all I saw was like its back.
That would have been a monster bear.
Yeah, that would have been a monster bear for sure. We don't get them like that up here. I was just listening to some podcast today, and he's like, yeah, I've killed a couple of 500-pound bears, and until he said the area, I thought he was full of it. But when he told me the area, that Virginia, North Carolina, they get some big old bears out there.
I heard the same thing to you as you today, and my bullshit meter went off immediately.
Yeah.
Virginia, and I said, oh, okay, I can see that happening.
What podcast was that, man? We must have been listening to the same. What
was it? Podcast. I just caught a clip of it somewhere.
Gotcha.
It happened to be that clip. So
it must have been. I think it was Rogan. I think it was the Joe Rogan one. You're right.
It was.
Oh yeah, it was. It was Rogan, and he had Chad Wright on. It was actually a really good episode.
I'll have to give that one a listen.
Yeah, it's worth a listen for sure. So how have you been, man? How are things going?
Things are going really well. Always busy with the day job. I spent my spring, like I was saying, baiting in Idaho. I've got a string of pack goats that I took with me in 5 or 6 trips out to Idaho this year, and that's kind of nice, not having to pack bait in on your backpack every time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Then I've already started fall bear hunting here in Washington. I was out for opener, would have been August 1st. Went on a 3-day backcountry trip up in the Alpine with my goats.
Really? They start that fall season pretty early, huh?
August 1, we just had some changes here in Washington this year, and that some GMUs don't open until August 15. But they're still good chunks of the state are open August 1. It's nice that it's open that early. You can catch those early berries, but it's also having to be really smart and caring for your meat.
Yeah.
The weather's so hot.
Are you planning to come back to Idaho to hunt that bait site in the fall?
Absolutely. Yep. Matter of fact, that site will start baiting next week after next. So 2 weeks before 2 weeks before opener on the 30th.
You get a lot of archery guys through there during September, so it's not great in September, but towards the end of the season, it'll really pick up. Come October and whatnot.
Right.
Well, you'll still get action in September, but
Yeah, and I'm fortunate in that my brother lives over there and he carries an elk tag, so I get to go chase elk with him. And he carries his bow around, and I can rifle around and look for bears at the same time. So it's kind of
that's cool.
Get to chase elk and bears at the same time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, heck yeah, that's a great deal. So, did you see any bears in up in that alpine country in Washington?
No,
this last time you went out?
Particular area that I was hunting, the berries weren't quite ripe. Certain faces I could drop down a couple 100 feet in elevation, and there were some ripe berries. Just it's a lot like North Idaho, what you're used to. It's real thick, even a lot of the alpine stuff.
Nice.
There's spots you can glass, but it's going to take you half a day and a few thousand feet to get there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, better luck in Idaho, I suppose.
Right.
I tell you what, I was just telling my buddy Rob, we went camping, took the kids up and camped out on the lake there and pulled them on the tube on the boat and all this stuff. Having a ball, but Rob and I were talking about, he was asking about, with Idaho, the things that I used to hunt over there and like the experiences and like if I missed any of it. And I'm like, there's two things that I really miss about Idaho. And not that I can't go back. I mean, the Idaho line is like 10 minutes from where I live. So it's not like it's far, like you're traveling a lot further. But I was telling him there's two things that I really miss about Idaho. And one of them is that bear baiting season. We can't bait here in Montana. And it's because we have such a, profound, prolific grizzly population over here, and which they need to kind of get a handle on. And the other thing I miss with Idaho is having like a really deep familiarity of the country. Like I come over here and I've never really hunted Montana much, and I fished a lot of it, but learning all these areas sometimes, I know the country around me, and where I guide, I'm real familiar with that because that's kind of like trial by fire, right? I had to learn it real quick. But getting past like the range of where I guide, I'm just kind of blind, and I don't have like a lot of time this year to go scout. That whole heart attack thing really cut into my time. I had to get my heart back into, mountain shape or whatever. And so it is though. So we're good there. Oh, you know what? I want to throw something out on that topic, man, since we're chit chatting. I haven't been behind the microphone for a while. So now I'm like all excited.
Ooh, nice.
What I want to throw this out to the audience about some of your freeze-dried food options out there. So I want to start with, I'm a big fan of Peak Refuel, and that's what I've been packing for a long time, and I have a ton of it. But here's the thing, I have to, because it's like so fresh from the whole heart thing. I had that stint installed, and I have to like, I had low cholesterol before the heart issue, and I have to keep it even lower. The problem with Peak, man, is like if you look at the packaging, like I peeked at a couple of them today. No pun intended with Peak Refuel, but like one of them was like 145% cholesterol and really high sodiums, and what they're going for is they're going for that high caloric, intake for people that are burning a lot of calories, which is what I do. But I have to kind of watch that this season. So my question to the audience, or you, Josh, is like, if anybody has a recommendation of a brand that is a little bit more not so high cholesterol, sodium, that kind of thing, a little bit more on the lower cholesterol and sodium level, please hit me up. And you can do it at either jim@thewesternhuntsman.com or jim.huntsman@eastmans.com. I don't care which one you send it to, but hit me up. I'd really appreciate anybody's input on like some healthier options on freeze-dried meals. So anyway, had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
You got any suggestions?
Outside of getting your own freeze dryer and making your own freeze-dried meals, I'm not really familiar with anything directly. There's some smaller companies out there that are dabbling in freeze-dried meals that you might find. And I know one in particular here that's based out of Washington. They're still having some hiccups on their startup, but their meals have fantastic reviews, and they're way different. They're all sort of Asian flair, and to my surprise, they're all vegan. I don't know if that means they're any more healthy or not, but they've got all the same caloric capacities and protein.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that one called? Do you know?
They're called Iron Goat Provisions.
They're vegan, though?
They are vegan.
Iron Goat. I'm going to look this up, man, on my special
but they have some,
here.
They've got some different options that you don't see everywhere. It's kind of interesting.
I'm seeing Instagram. Oh, I'm not seeing a website though. Maybe they don't have, like, some of these younger owned companies, man, these dudes aren't doing websites. These folks aren't doing websites. What the heck?
They might have some sort of a marketplace or something on Instagram that they're doing business.
Yeah, they do. It's bold and authentic Asian freeze-dried meals for your next adventure, made in Seattle.
There you go.
That's the one, huh?
Yep.
Oh, I found the website. Never mind.
I think they've got all their nutritional stuff on there.
Yeah, if it's all vegan, I don't know if I do that, just because I feel like you really need that protein, and tofu doesn't do it.
I hear you.
Yeah, all three options are vegan. So okay, I'll keep looking around.
The Western Huntsman provisions, though, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, man. I'll keep looking around. I know there's some good ones. There's one that's made in North Idaho that I heard is really good. I just don't know. I just have to, like, it's not like it would kill me to have a couple of peak refuels, but like, I can't do them as frequently as I was if I want to keep that cholesterol level down, because I don't want to jack up this stint.
Let's face it, none of them are really that great anyways.
No, so they're not.
Right. And was going to be helpful.
Yeah. And I'm kicking around the idea of just doing my own freeze dryer. I just don't want to, like, they're just for like a half decent one, you're several $1,000s, to get one. And I just don't know if I want to do that right now, brother.
Same boat.
Yeah. So, well, cool, man. Kind of give us a little update on what's going on in Washington and what we kind of need to just make people aware of. Again, for those of you listening, like, this isn't just centered around Washington hunters. It's important that we all are a part of this kind of thing, because this is where this stuff develops, and then it kind of starts spreading to, states where you think, like, I know we've talked about this probably in the past, Josh, and I probably beat this it's like beating a dead horse at some point, but there was a time when if you said anything about Colorado having any stronghold or foothold of this animal activist or anti-hunting movement, and I'm not talking, like, this was not that long ago, people would have thought you were crazy. And now look at it. It's a major hub for activism and the anti-hunting movement and these legislative actions that are not positive for hunting and the outdoor space in general. And so, if it can happen to Colorado, it can happen anywhere. And California and Washington are kind of those two places where a lot of this stuff develops out of. Would you agree with that, Josh?
100%. And it definitely spills over into other states. And
yeah,
whether or not you see that spill over into other states transform into another issue, say Idaho, it doesn't mean that there aren't the same folks here in Washington with the anti-hunting sentiment that they're propagating that same behavior. They're looking for connections. They're looking for footholds in Idaho as well, or Montana, or Wyoming.
Yeah,
fill blank with any state.
Yeah, they're here. They're. You go to Bozeman. You can drive anywhere into Montana, and you could see, like, some of these anti-trapping billboards that they pay for and put up. And I saw one the other day in Missoula. And they want to end trapping, they want to stop wolf hunting, and those groups are already in these states, but they're not as prolific as places like Seattle, because I think or Washington, I'm sorry, because I think, and I don't know, man, I've kind of kicked around like the whole ponderance of what creates that kind of mentality, you know, because that's very new to the human condition. You know, it's never been a thing. You know, 100 years ago, there was no such thing as an animal rights activist or an animal anti-hunting movement or a, you know, PETA or Humane Society of the United States, where they're trying to end the consumption of any sort and the take of any sort of animals, right? And so in Oregon is another spot. And so I always wonder, like, is it these giant cities, that group think that takes hold in these giant cities that creates that? You've kind of been involved in this now. Where does this kind of stuff come from, like on a human level?
It's definitely coming from the more populous areas, metropolitan areas such as Seattle. I feel like it's incubated by comfort. You know, you become so comfortable in life that you have a vast bandwidth to care about things that before you either didn't have the bandwidth to care for, or it was an adversity in your life that needed to be dealt with in a certain way. And so I feel like soft times make soft people, you know, soft people make hard times in return. So it's just that constant tug of war back and forth. I can understand caring for wildlife. I know folks like you and I care deeply for wildlife, but there's also an understanding there that there's got to be some form of a management and opportunity that goes along with that, because ultimately wildlife is a resource, and ultimately we're encroaching on that. So it's nothing that gets to me faster than somebody using the old, well, if you just stay out of the animal's way, or you stay out of the animal's home. First thing I think is, do you have a home? where does that home sit now? You know, what did that place where your home sits now look like even 50 years ago? And then tell me that we're the problem, that, you know, we're encroaching on wildlife in the wild places. You're there, and we are wildlife as well. So
I know.
I don't get where the backwards preservation mentality comes from, and the reversal of logical thinking. But I suppose if we had that figured out, we'd be going down a different path.
Well, I think you nailed it. You actually had I'm going to totally plagiarize that saying, incubated by comfort.
There you go.
Through comfort. I love that, because I think that there's so much truth in that, from the standpoint of, you know, just like the way humans are, and the way, like, in my world, God designed us, is humans are kind of meant to struggle. And if they don't have a struggle, they find something to struggle with. And it's not necessarily something that needs to be this combative thing, but they, when we get to levels of great comfort, what did you say? Incubate through comfort. This mentality of they need a tribe to attach to, and the animal rights activism and those kind of groups, they're always looking for recruits. You know, they're always looking for fresh blood and people to believe in this cause. And you get, like, you know, some of these lost souls that, you know, they don't know what real struggle is and real hardship is. They've never had to wonder where their next meal is going to come from, or if the opposing tribe over the mountain is going to come over and try to take them over, you know, and all these things. So like this level of comfort with Uber Eats and delivery pizza and hospitals and all the things that society provides for us, we don't have anything really to fear. So by finding a tribe, somebody that might be somewhat of a lost soul, and I don't say this in a mean way, I just think that we have a lot of lost souls, and I think that that's another thing that gets incubated, if you will, in like great big cities sometimes, is people feel maybe there's so many people that they kind of get lost in the crowd, and maybe they're having a tougher time being able to find like some level of self-importance where they can stand out from the crowd, these fast crowds in these big cities, and all this comfort and all this, everything's the same, you know. And you go down the street and it's the same series of buildings again. There's a Target, there's a Walmart, there's a blah blah blah, and it's like there's no such thing as like small town America there, anymore. There's no uniqueness, and so finding this place where they can have this sense of self importance is lost on them, and so oh man, here's an ad for Humane Society of the United States where they are against hunting and trapping and I love cats, or I love dogs, and I think that they're evil if they're killing animals because they're probably just like my cats and dogs. And here's a way to attach myself and find myself a tribe, and attach some self-importance to my own life by becoming this activist and doing away with something that I know nothing about. I'm kind of simplifying it, but that's kind of my gist of it.
Very much so. It's a culture and a social structure that people identify and attach to. And I hate to say that it's through ignorance and lack of education, because a lot of those folks are very highly educated. So
yeah, I know, that's the other thing. They really are. But I've come to realize, education does not mean intelligence, and intelligence does not require education.
Sure. So yeah, and that's where you get, as you mentioned when you kicked off the conversation, it is indeed a very sneaky time of year, and for that reason, these folks, a lot of them aren't tending to their gardens because they can go to the store and eat a tomato when they want to eat a tomato, and so they're spending their time looking for ways to identify with their culture and their social structures with the anti-hunting sentiment. And we're out, this time of year looking for hunting opportunities, right? Not really sitting at home reading the internets, paying attention to, what we can activate on for the most part. That's kind of a shame for us, because once we stop paying attention, something sort of slips in the back door, and here we are finding ourselves back on our heels again, reacting to a situation that we didn't know we were going to be in.
And so what is going on this summer from a standpoint, are these activists, are they coming in trying to get some kind of legislative action passed that reduces any kind of coyote hunting in the state of Washington? Is that what they're doing?
So I suspect that there's probably rumblings of legislation for that going on, being that we're not in session. That stuff's going to be kept on pretty well on the hush. Though there are some things in review with our Fish and Wildlife Department, and one of those items for consideration would be the classification of coyotes. There's a huge list, a couple hundred unclassified species, although the ones of interest that have been spoken about recently would be coyotes and skunks. Mostly coyotes. And I think the argument there is that there are states that already have coyotes classified as a game species, or they're managed by maybe the ag department instead of the wildlife department of that state, depending on what state it is. And it's not like there's any limitations on harvest or any special season setting or anything for that. Their argument is just that other states have them classified and we don't. Is that really a good look that coyotes aren't classified, and what makes them special or not to be unclassified? So, as well as I do, Jim, that that could very well open a big can of worms for the anti-hunting sentiment, say if coyotes were classified as a game species. It may not seem like it up front. It may sound good. We can sort of keep track of them and have a reporting structure for them and just kind of keep tabs on the species, but it's a species of least concern. So It's our feeling that if it's a species of least concern, why spend any resources that of the state or the commission's time or any public meeting time, just any resources at all? It's probably, I think the last survey I had seen them come out with that we had any interest in was the CWD survey that they did here in Washington. And I believe that survey just to conduct was north of $150,000.
Wow.
So we are talking about real money and real time resources if we're going to classify coyotes, and not just in creating a reporting structure, but just the conversations that are going to lead up to that. So whether or not it's a good or a bad thing from a hunting or anti-hunting sentiment, I believe, just state resource wise, we're already running at a deficit here in Washington. I don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Deficit for coyotes.
Yeah. I'm curious what the end goal would be with that. I looked it up while you were talking. It looks like the only two states that have classified them as a game species or fur bear is New York and Massachusetts. And I don't think that they have coyotes, but it's not like a strong, population from, and I could be wrong about that. Maybe that's changed in the last time I looked into it. That kind of northern part of the eastern seaboard, it wasn't like a real prevalent place for coyotes, but they had, growing populations, and this was years ago. So maybe there's coyotes running around downtown New York City now, like they are in Seattle.
I would not be surprised.
Oh, me neither, man. That one of them's going to swim across the ocean and get to Maui, and it's not going to be much longer, I think. But yeah, because they do spread like crazy. But yeah, I don't understand. I'd be curious to kind of dig into that from a standpoint of like wildlife management, how that affects having specific, because it says right here in New York and Massachusetts, they have specific hunting seasons and trapping seasons for coyotes, which out in the West, we don't have any of that. There's no real hunting and trapping season for coyotes.
We don't. And that's going to be the very first thing that's gone after. In my opinion, will be season setting for those. And it may not be season setting, but we might have a portion of the year where we're not permitted to hunt coyotes because they're having pups, That's that breeding cycle. That's going to definitely come into play. And especially because Washington, the Game Commission there has a kind of a track record of going after these predator species, hunting seasons. You guys lost spring bear. I can't believe, did you know it's been like almost 5 years since spring bear was lost in Washington? It's been a minute, and it still comes up all the time, and everybody's still sick to death of bringing it up. So
what do you mean, like the commission or the hunters are? Like, I'm just curious, like
it's mainly the commissioners, that the current commissioners, just about all of them have been around now since that whole spring bear debacle was going on. So if you so much as mention spring bear, you can not only see, but you can hear every eye in the audience, or every eye roll on that commission. So they're tired of hearing about it.
Go ahead.
They're tired of hearing about it, and we're tired of talking about it. But what do you do?
For me, I wouldn't take the gas off of that. If there is the slightest prayer to get that season back, because that's the thing with anything government wise, when they take something, it is almost impossible to get it back in any case. Once your tax rate is a certain level, getting it lowered is really difficult. Once they take your, access to the national forest here and there and whatever, once they gate those roads, getting those roads back open, that kind of stuff, we just don't get it back. And so it'd be kind of a cool story if there was a way, and anything I could do to help with this, but if we can get that game commission to reverse that and get you guys a spring bear hunt again, because I don't know, like, if that's even possible at this point. Do you?
Not under the current structure. It's going to take some pretty careful planning to even get them to look at it. And I think it's going to have to come in the form of a petition eventually. There's been plenty of petitions filed. However, they've been filed very half-heartedly, and that's not what commission's looking for. That's not what department staff is looking for. That's not what the public is looking for. And I don't rightly know what the answer is there for getting spring bear back. It's a problem, and same, I hate to bring it up again, but with this time of year, when folks are not paying attention, being involved, activating in some sort of way, we start a backslide, and it's almost immediate. We're far outnumbered on the other side that's working for things that they care about. And I won't even say anti-hunting. It's those are things that they care about, and they're going to work on them. They're not being slowed down by the same things that we're being slowed down by. They have a much larger pool, a much more diverse pool of people to pull from, new people coming in constantly. So, if people get burned out, there's another 10 people there right behind them to take their place. So
yeah,
constantly going to be behind in many ways. And it's our job to pay attention to all of these things that are coming up. What fall bear season started here in Washington, and I was out in the backcountry for a few days, and one of the very first notifications that I got when I was back to civilization was this proposal to ban bear baiting nationwide.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
About bear hunting, and now here I am coming back to civilization, and there's this push to ban bear baiting nationwide. So
yeah, I saw that too. I was out of phone service or cell service when that happened too. So it looks like just for the audience sake, Congressman Sri Thandar introduces the Don't Feed the Bears Act. So, Don't Feed the Bears Act of 2025 aimed at ending the hunting practice known as bear baiting by prohibiting the intentional feeding of bears on federal public lands. So it's like, that's always their thing. Oh, we need to go after this on federal lands because they think that they own it because they're a congressman. Anyway, I'll digress. The bill directs federal land management agencies to adopt and enforce regulations that prohibit individuals from placing food to attract bears for hunting season. So essentially, they're going to have a bunch of fluffy language in there and a bunch of don't feed the bears, cute type names and titles to create cute headlines like that. But essentially, the goal would be to eliminate that source of land or wildlife management through hunting, through baiting. The downfall with that. I look at things like, okay, so in Montana, we can't bait bears, and that's because of the grizzly population. And grizzly bears are, endangered, and I'm surprised that they haven't actually done that, because there was a hunter that mistakenly shot a grizzly bear over bait, like the last 2 or 3 years in a row over on the Idaho side. Yeah, it seems to happen every year. But I mean, I had multiple bait sites. I never had one on my bait site. My buddy Steve had one on his bait site. A very big sucker too, not far from that one bait you know about. Anyway, so it's not like out of the question, but that's an issue. And I have not. She's this Sri Thandar. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, or is it even
brave? I'm not even sure if it's a man or a woman. So
yeah. Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock, because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, you know, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes.
You know, it's meant to look like baiting, the loss of baiting is sort of fallout to get the morons to stop feeding bears at campsites and whatnot. But I think the ultimate goal is to end baiting, which would
wait. I got to back up here. It is a man. It is a man. Okay. I apologize that. So it's a man that doesn't look totally like a man. It's all going to get me in trouble, man. This is the kind of stuff I was talking. I had a buddy. We were having this conversation, and we were kind of talking about linking up these organization things that I don't want to get into details with that. And he was talking to somebody else that's involved on his side of it, and that lady was telling him, you know, I really like that Jim, but he's controversial. He could be controversial. And I just kind of laugh, because, you know, when I see that kind of stuff, like this, when we're talking about these kind of things festering and incubating in levels of comfort, and that's not just the anti-hunting stuff. That's what breeds all sorts of crazy things, like being unaware of what gender you are and trying to make them up, and trying to create your own gender, and trying to be woke and trying to silence everybody else because you're offended and your feelings are emotionally sensitive, and because of that everybody needs to cater to that. To me, talking out against that kind of stuff is not controversial. This is like I don't think that is controversial. I don't mean to get us off topic here, Josh, but it just irritates me on some of this stuff. Like that, like don't tell me that you are in this the year of our Lord 2025. All of a sudden, you could say you're the opposite gender and hunting is bad and humans are evil and we're encroaching on all their home habitat or whatever, which, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with that aspect of it sometimes, but and tell me that I'm the controversial one. To me, it's controversial to dress up like a woman and go jump in a swimming pool and take home a trophy in the women's swimming team. Like, that's controversial. Me saying that's messed up is not controversial. And anyway, I had to get that little rant off my shoulders, because this is the kind of stuff, this is where this shit comes from, man.
That's right. I would have to agree. It definitely crosses boundaries into a lot of different subject matter. And yeah, damn you for being logical and inquisitive, because that makes it controversial these days.
So basically that ban, bear baiting nationwide, is, let's see, I just wanted to see one thing on that before. Strict penalties against feeding birds unless in the back. You know, they're gonna try to sell it like, oh, you know, now it's illegal to feed your bears in the backyard or leave your garbage cans out in neighborhoods and whatnot. You know, that's the kind of stuff they're gonna try to sell it as that. But the undermining guise of that is it means that we can't bear bait, and I think there's like 12 states still able to bear bait, right?
Believe it is 12.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to get us off track, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because again, I was out of phone service when that came out, and so I saw the headline and I meant to go get up to speed on it, and I haven't yet. So I don't want to talk out of, and I don't want to make the audience sit and listen to me while I read about it and learn.
Catch up, man. They got to catch up too. It's all right.
But it's out there.
And 10 other people that might have heard this and didn't have any idea. They might look it up too and pay attention. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing, man. A lot of us are out. We're camping with our families. We're out, like you were out hunting bears. A lot of folks are out. We're out scouting in the backcountry. We're not like, sitting around waiting for the antis to come up with their newest scam.
right.
We just don't live life like that, and it's just like, man, it's so hard to keep up with, man.
It is. It's something that I don't necessarily have time for, but I've made it a point to make time for it and be flexible enough to talk about it and read about it and listen to it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
It's been very evident here in Washington the last few years that if you're paying attention and you have a voice and you use that voice, especially collectively, you've got a lot bigger influence. I heard for a long time that, oh, why email or why call or why show up to a meeting or why give public testimony? Nobody listens, nobody cares. I think if you still believe that here in Washington right now in the last year, if you still believe that your voice doesn't matter, your opinion doesn't matter, your emails don't matter, your phone calls don't matter, then you haven't been paying attention, because it's been, I wouldn't say a drastic turnaround by any sense. We still don't have our spring bear hunting back, but there's been a lot of rumble on our Fish and Wildlife Commission. We seem to have them sort of in check right now. They're facing sort of an organizational restructuring, in that they're electing a new chair and vice chair. It's time for that for them, but we're seeing that trend for chair and vice chair maybe not lean the same direction it has for the last several years, in that maybe there are some more favorable, open-minded candidates right now. So we'll see what that happens next week at their August meeting. So,
I've been actually quite proud of the hunting community lately, specifically in a few places such as Washington. 10 years ago, or heck, even 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that organizations like the Conservation Coalition in Washington and, other groups, when they, like Howl for Wildlife, all this stuff, when they put information out, it'd be crickets on the response side from the outdoorsman. And it was getting, like, when I first started this show, it was like, I was really at a point where I was super frustrated with my own community, because I felt like there were these big things happening and nobody was doing. All they would do is complain on social media, but they wouldn't activate, they wouldn't organize, they wouldn't gather, they wouldn't do these things in great numbers to make any kind of real impact. And so this perception was developed that we in the hunting space don't really care that much, and that we will just allow ourselves to get walked all over by these activist groups. And I want to say, in like the last 4 or 5, like since around the time COVID was kind of happening, is where I really started seeing the change and the reactionary commitment from hunters and outdoorsmen to get involved and throw some of this stuff in the face of people like Lorna Smith, and respond and activate and gather and let their voices be heard, and actually take the time and put their money where their mouth is, and their mouth where their money is. You know what I mean? And have you, I want to ask you that, because again, you actually, Josh, I never gave you a chance to like explain your involvement with the Conservation Coalition. I just kind of walked all over that. And can you explain that real quick, and then I'll ask the question?
So right now we're still growing and still becoming the entity that we are. We are an official nonprofit with the state of Washington currently. We are awaiting IRS paperwork processing stuff to be official with the feds. But our organizational structure is pretty well in place. We have a board. We've been meeting, we've all been around each other for the last 4-ish years at this point, but we have regular board meetings. We've got an executive team, and are constantly working behind the scenes, not just social media stuff, not just commission meetings, not just fundraiser events as they come up, but constantly working behind the scenes, having meetings with Department of Fish and Wildlife staff, having meetings with commissioners, having meetings with other organizations that may not even be hunting organizations, people that are in the fishing industry or clubs or conservation realm, you name it. So there's always something going on our end research wise, and we're always looking for ways that people can activate and engage and use their voice to make a difference and maybe create some of these policy trends that lean more in our direction, for opportunities, for management opportunities. We still have a lot of predator conflict issues in a lot of these states that are handled by the state agencies, and those animals are still wasted. I feel like that's a missed opportunity sorry about that, Ben. It's a missed opportunity for us as hunters, but it's also a missed opportunity for wildlife and conservation.
Yeah.
So,
was that your dog barking? What the heck was that?
Yeah, my dog's barking it. My wife had a pest control guy come over to the farm, and the dog sees him outside. So,
oh, I see. My dog does that. That's why I stopped letting him stay in the studio with me, man, because he barks at his shadow. I mean, the slightest move outside. It's, yeah, man. So, okay. So
my official role there at Conservation Coalition, I'm the secretary for Conservation Coalition.
Gotcha.
There's a few of us that I would say the public in general, anybody who knows about Conservation Coalition pretty much knows the drivers behind that. And we're a grassroots organization at core, and we rely a lot on public input and public collaboration and hunting community collaboration in general to make anything move. It's not any one person or any one group of 5 people that really makes it happen. We're just kind of an organizational structure that assists in getting that information out, and hopefully people can do something with it.
Mm-hmm. Is Gary Strasberg, is he still involved?
Gary is on the board for Coalition. In fact, I just spoke with him briefly this evening and wished me luck and said tell you hey. So,
well, hey back. Shout out to Gary.
And I'll be talking to Mike Hers here shortly when you and I are done. So I'm sure he will wanted me to say hi. So.
Oh man, I got to tell you, I have this whole box of the one for the elk. Let's see I thought he had like a specific name for it, but the skull hanger.
Oh, Skullcraft.
Yeah. I told my wife I need to go dig out the namesake of my studio is Broken Tines, and I've got a Euro pound of the Broken Tines bowl, and I'm going to put it right behind me now that we're filming, like doing the video behind all these. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that out in the next few weeks and get it hung here. And
custom out for that.
Yeah. Oh, we put the cat. He sent me a couple of the skull hangers for the cat. By the way, guys, this is Skullcraft Collective, and he makes these skull hangers so you can hang stuff on the wall at like different angles, and they're super cool. I put one up at the Elk Creek Outfitting at the lodge for this giant cat skull that we had up there that the lodge has, and it looks so cool. I should post a picture of it. But anyway,
super cool product, man.
it really is.
I think they're running some sort of a giveaway right now too. So if anybody's interested in checking that out, it'd be a good opportunity.
What's their website again? We should give them a little shout out because this is what I
think it's skullcraftcollective.com.
I think it is too. Let me see here.
I know they're on Instagram as Skullcraft Collective.
Yeah, skullcraftcollective.com. You guys, and the reason I'm bringing it up to the audience, you guys, if you're interested in something like that, like this is a good old fashioned American story. Somebody had an idea, they put it to this concept, and all of a sudden they created a product. It's all American. It's American made, and it's made by hunters for hunters. And it just makes your mounts look, especially Euro mounts. It just makes your Euro mounts look freaking amazing. There's all sorts of stuff you can make them super custom. So anyway,
they're not satisfied with what they've done either. They're still constantly innovating and looking for other product stuff. And
I just think it's great stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and innovating, like you were saying. Sorry, I got to say that I have to say this in every episode. We have like some weird delay going on, and like it looks like you stopped talking, but then I hear your voice in my headphones, and so if I'm walking on you, I apologize, brother.
Oh, we're good.
No, that's great. And so getting back to the conservation coalition that we were talking about, from the standpoint of like hunter involvement and what you guys have seen there as a group, as a lot of the stuff that these activist groups are kind of throwing at hunters in the state of Washington, have you noticed an uptick in hunter involvement and the reactionary response of the outdoors community? Is that something that you guys have like seen like this noticeable thing or change in, or do you feel like it's stagnant? Give us a little update on that.
So I would say it comes and goes in waves, but overall, hunter involvement and engagement with these issues, whether it be email or even showing up to commission meetings in person or giving public testimony remotely at commission meetings, has been, 110% different as far as increased number of hunters and involvement.
Mm-hmm.
We start seeing a lot more smokes. Go on.
Did you drop your camera?
My dog's hunting flies.
Dude, that's better. I have this big white cat named Hank, and he's like this giant marshmallow with lips. And he started walking all over my keyboard while I was recording, and he never does, like, he's super antisocial, doesn't really like people, including me. And so it was like extremely odd he started doing that, so I booted him out of the studio, and I don't think he's been back in here since.
Dog's about to get the go.
He like stopped the recording or something like that. So yeah, don't worry about
it. So yeah, big difference. We're starting to see a lot more washout as far as more hunters are showing up to speak even remotely than anti-hunters or other folks.
When you say washout, are you talking about washout on the activist side, like they're just kind of burnt out with having to fight about it?
I don't know if they're burnt out or if they're playing the intimidation card, which we're seeing a lot more of lately, whereas they feel intimidated by hunter presence, that to the point that they aren't comfortable sharing their opinion or showing up to speak. So I think it's a funny angle to play, but
weak minds, man. I'm telling you, weak minds are easy to intimidate, and I don't want to ever come at this from this place of intimidation. But if honestly, in today's woke society that seems to be dying, by the way, if that's what it takes to make people feel uncomfortable on that side, again, you can't be that weak in today's world. This is extremely competitive place to live. Earth, I'm talking about.
Well, that's the
Very
thing.
competitive. Like, I think that the point I'm really trying to make here, Josh, is hunters were at that point a while back where they were the ones intimidated and afraid to speak their mind and too busy to speak out, but didn't want to show up to those meetings because they were so outnumbered. So if you're saying it's reversing in places like Western Washington, that's a huge step, man.
It's 100% reversing, and even so, they may have a good number of opposition show up in person, but then maybe choose not to speak and just stay and observe. And yes, it's not an intimidation tactic. It's the fact that people have gotten tired of something trending a certain way and are using their voice to to get their opinions out there. So it's not intimidation. It's not controversial. It's just activating and using one's voice to convey your feelings about how a certain situation is playing out.
Well, a huge part of that and kind of the success of kind of turning the odds into our favor and away from the activism and the activist favor is because of grassroots groups like the Conservation Coalition of Washington. You guys are just like regular folks that decided to take action, and it's those little things like that show these activists that we're not here to be bullied. We're not here to be pushed around. We will fight for what we believe in, and we will speak our mind, and we will put up one hell of a ruckus if you try to do away with our way of life. And by doing that, if they're backing down and they're feeling intimidated and they're uncomfortable with speaking their minds because there's so many hunters, I love it. To me, that is a dream come true. And that's what we've been fighting for. And again, it's thanks to people like you who took the time out of your own life. You don't get paid for this. You don't get, this isn't like your day job. You have a family, you have a day job, you have a hunting season to deal with. You have all sorts of responsibilities, and I'm sure you got a mortgage and, maybe some other things that you're these things that add to our stresses of daily life. But you and everybody else at the coalition there, you put in your own blood, sweat, and tears to make that kind of thing happen. And I just appreciate folks like you. It's important, and it's what makes the needle move in a great way, because the commission sees that. They see the fact that, okay, these are just regular folks. They don't have like some billionaire backer cutting them a check behind the scenes or anything like that. Like, these folks are literally putting in their own time on their own dime, and they feel that this is that important to their own life that they're doing it. And where else? I mean, it's just a rare thing, in other aspects of life. You know what I mean? So kudos to you guys, man.
Well, I definitely appreciate the appreciation, and I reciprocate the appreciation to anybody that's taken a minute out of their life to send an email, make a phone call, give public testimony. It is an incredible feeling when you show up to a commission meeting to speak and you anticipate sort of a dreary, overrun by anti-hunter public testimony period, and you look at the list of people that are signed up to speak either in person or remotely, and see that the vast majority of those people are sportsmen and women.
Yeah.
It is an incredible feeling knowing that we have gone from a place where not even a handful of folks, and this is before even my time being present and sharing my opinion and using my resources and spending my time doing this. Just a couple of people were fighting the fight before, and
yeah,
it's easier on everybody if anybody can can share just a small amount of their time, and that's all it is right now is time. So
yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's the nice thing is technology has helped with that. It's really easy. Like Haldot or Howl for Wildlife made it super easy to kind of at least express yourself at a lot of it. And so it's not like the old days where the only option was to show up at the Capitol during the legislative session or something like that. So that part's really nice. But again, the credit goes to people like you that are just willing to put in the time and the effort and make your voice heard and help other people make their voice heard for something that we all are super passionate about. This is hunting. This is our life, and so is there anything you want the audience to know about, like the coalition there? Any way to help get involved or anything, as we get closer to the next legislative session? Is there anything that they need to know about or a way they can help?
So as with anything for now, just paying attention. We're constantly working to get information out on anything upcoming or anything that is ongoing or just any point of interest. Usually ways that folks can get involved, we're posting information about that as it comes up, whether it's a commission meeting to provide public testimony for, or a hearing, or anything coming up that is a point of interest. Of course, how actions, not just with Washington, but with any state or country or whatever they're working on, is a fantastic way to get involved. And Howl is a fantastic organization to support. They're for hunters and anglers 100%, and they're a fantastic resource.
Yeah, man. They're another example of what we were talking about, regular folks with a passion and a commitment to this thing that we do that decided to take action,
So, as far as issues that we have going on right now, be on the lookout for anything in Washington that's coming up about coyotes and classification there. And there's one other topic actually kind of wanted to ask you about, Jim. How do you feel about non-lead ammunition? What, are you using lead ammunition still? Are you dabbling with non-lead stuff?
It depends on which rifle I'm using. I still do have some lead ammo. And it's mostly, just for the sake. So one of the sponsors on the show is Barnes Bullets. They make the copper bullets. And man, they are tack hammers, dude. They they do more damage, and it's a great any of the Barnes ammo for factory ammo. It's amazing stuff. I know it's pricey. For you and those of you out there listening. But I know it is better to keep that lead off. There was an organization at the Hunt Expo a couple years ago. And I was talking to them about like what all this lead can potentially do and the damage it can do if left there. And I know that the idea was I was going to have them on the show, and I haven't set that up yet. But I do, because I want to know more about why they're so passionate about not using lead ammo, and it's kind of like this environmental factor, I believe. And there's for me, I'm not going to judge somebody for using lead ammo right now. That's because I don't know. Like if there's a better option and there's a major reason not to use lead, like my little 30-30 Model 94. Yeah, man, I have thousands of rounds, of lead for that. And the other one is my AR-15. I have thousands of rounds of like 5.56 kind of stuff. I'm not going to go throwing that away and replace it with copper, right? But I do like the copper rounds, and the copper rounds are actually, I think, better when you're talking about elk hunting and other big game species, that copper bullet's going to do more damage, which is really critical. A lot of people are like, real defensive about some of the smaller calibers and whatnot. They're like, oh, well, the argument. Oh, the 6.5 Creedmoor. Oh, it's not big enough for elk. And then you have the other side. Oh, it's plenty big enough for elk. Here's the reality of it. It's not a great elk rifle. It can be if you have a really ideal shot and a really ideal range and all that. It's going to kill elk if you can get that round in the right spot, but it's not going to compete with a bigger caliber rifle if you accidentally shoulder hit that thing or something, right? Sure. And so like people just need to have a little bit more depth in these arguments. But I could tell you this, that copper bullet in that 6.5 Creedmoor that I was shooting, holy smokes, man, it will do some damage. And
it gets
so
a little bit more range too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does. Gives you more range. So why do you ask?
308's a great round too, Jim, but
yeah, absolutely.
Not a 1,000-yard round for elk.
Nope. So. Yeah.
So the reason why I ask is because this is going to be very much a point of interest. I know here in Washington, and I'm sure the rest of the Western states will probably follow suit just as we see trends kind of explode that way. And it's, I feel sort of the same as you, or I did feel the same as you. Sure, I have plenty of lead for certain calibers. Sure, I'm not going to just throw that ammunition away, you know. And I'm not going to take it so well if suddenly there's a policy from any state that tells me that I can't use that lead ammunition, just full stop. So I think if we're trending that way, it's good. And I don't want to tell you how to run your show or who to have on your show, but having that lead partnership or that lead or non-lead organization on would really help get people to understand that. Same as you, yeah. I've been using some non-lead ammunition for probably about 5 years now. And I've had fantastic results with non-lead, and so far I've yet to find a reason not to use it other than the fact that I do still have some.
Yeah.
Even 4570, I pack that around a lot in the thick North Idaho woods and in the thick Western Washington woods. I'm using non-lead ammo for that even. So
yeah, I keep looking up to my left, which I think you're right. If I know how these things reflect each other, I'm not sure, but because I have a big ammo can of those copper bullets from Barnes. And it's kind of cool for me too, man. Barnes bullets, they're made right down the road from my dad's alfalfa ranch. And so like in central Utah, there's the big factory. It's like just kind of north of Nephi. Or is it south of Nephi? I can't remember. Anyway, it's like, I remember years ago driving by when the factory was a lot smaller and all that, driving by and seeing that bullet manufacturer there, and it was like the landmark. Okay, not much further to the ranch, another good 30 minutes or something, you know. And so anyway, I've come to the point where, like Josh, I try not to have like this hard opinion on something until I have the facts, and it's something that I personally, like if this is going to develop into like an argument of lead versus copper or non-lead ammo versus lead ammo kind of thing, like for me, I need to know the facts before I develop some strong opinion and kind of, offer it here on the show. There's only a couple things that I know, and that is I've used lead ammo for a long time and it does a great job and I'm not opposed to it. But I'm also very impressed with these barn bullets and these copper bullets that I'm using, and I think that they're more lethal than lead is. And so these are the two things that I like know for sure because I've tried it. And so outside of that, I think it's, like you said, worth having that expert on to maybe offer some, and that's my favorite part of doing the show too, Josh, is I learn so much by having people on in these specific areas that I know if it's helping me understand it, it's going to help everybody else listening understand it. And we could just be better equipped to make, judgments and create ideas. And, just information is paramount in something like this.
As with anything new or foreign to somebody, it's good to know just a little bit more about it. And everybody is going to have a different take on it, and maybe a different reason why they are or are not accepting of something new. If there were to be a lead ban, what does that look like, and what does that feel like to each individual person? There's got to be a feeling of compromise somewhere for somebody always, and then there's got to be that reasoning of why you're okay or you're not okay with it. For some people, it might be it's better for marine wildlife, or for some people that it's better for raptors. It might be, who knows what the reasoning is, but once you hit that tick with somebody, and then they can sort of wrap their brain around it with associating it with what they care about. Nobody can do without being educated. So
yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. Education on this topic, I think, is going to be what's critical, because the hunting space, man. Yeah, like as soon as some guy says, "Oh man, everybody needs to throw their lead ammo away and only use copper," or something like that, it's going to be World War IV.
Oh yes,
they're going to bypass World War III and they're going to go right into World War IV. And so I think I know that either way. I know that it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to take some time for this argument against lead to really sink its teeth and take hold. And whether I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm saying that's like the feeling I have behind it. But I really will say, if you guys don't mind spending a little extra money on some really good ammo that is more lethal and will go a little further, check out that Barnes Bullet stuff. I did an episode, I can't remember what number it was last year, it's 2024, but there's an episode with this bullet scientist guy, and he blew my mind on all sorts of stuff. But it's a really interesting conversation, and everybody should go back and check it out. But just like doing the search bar Barnes Bullets on in the little search bar thing, it'll pull that episode right up. But yeah, it's a good one. So
that's a good place to start.
Yeah, it kind of gives you an understanding of like the science behind the copper bullet is the purpose of that, and that's what I was telling him. I'm like, what a cool job, dude! He's got some weird scientific engineering degree on like ballistics, and so they hired him to help design these bullets. And like he really is. I mean, he's way smarter than I am, so he just geeks out on it. So it's just super interesting, man. Cool stuff, but. Well, cool, man. This is a great little conversation, man. I really appreciate your flexibility and jumping on a last minute like this.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah, I know. We're like, hey, let's do an episode, and then I'd forget or whatever, and here we are.
Art tried to give out on us there at one point too.
It did, man. It tried. This world keeps trying to take me out, and I'm still kicking so far. Knock on wood, right?
All those crayons,
the crayons, man, the Marine Corps crayons, they gave me all this cholesterol or something. And yeah, like I said, man. Tell everybody where they could find both the coalition and you, if you want.
So right now our website is under construction for the coalition. Find us on Instagram most prevalently, or Facebook, at the Conservation Coalition of Washington. And then I'm on Facebook, also Instagram mostly because Facebook is trouble for me. But at JD Caple 81 is my Instagram handle. And if anybody is interested in sort of learning what they can do from a standpoint of conservation and activating their voice with any issues, they can reach out to me. They can reach out to the Conservation Coalition Instagram. Somebody will help them out and guide them in the right direction.
Awesome. So I will put both those Instagram links in the show notes, guys. I'll put Josh's and the coalition's Instagram in there. It really is a grassroots, great group to follow and support. And so just kind of watch them for a lot of updates and whatnot. And Josh, I really appreciate you joining me, man. This is the kind of stuff we need to do this stuff more often. I kind of been slacking on the whole fight against the anti-hunting group lately.
Yeah, man. So if anybody wants to really get fired up about it, they can go back and look for your series that you did with Chris Rowe and Guy DePlancha. That was that was an amazing series that you guys did. There was a shit of information, and man, is it fired up.
I can't say enough good things about Chris Rowe. I'd love to get him back on. He's not real interested in doing anything public right now. And I wish he would, because man, he is just one of those dudes that I mean, I love Guy DePlancha. Don't take that wrong. I'm only mentioning Chris because Guy has a really good perspective too. Chris just has that science background and that real analytical mind, where like his mind is, everybody's like, oh, well, you're going to Chris Rowe it to death, which means he just talks too much or whatever. No, if you actually just listen to what Chris is saying, his mind's just like a mile ahead of everybody. And you just kind of catch up a little bit because he actually is right most of the time. What he talks about,
it makes me write notes when I listen to him.
You have to, because he does not really simplify things for dummies like me. He talks on his level. And the thing is he's usually right. And I found a lot of the things that he was talking about came to fruition. And so I appreciate you mentioning that series. We did those a few years ago, and they really were, I feel like a lot of really good information came out of those. So
I got a lot of value out of those. If you end up shaking his tree, let him know.
Yeah, I will for sure. So cool, Josh. Well, thanks again for joining me. I'd like to shout out real quick to all the sponsors on the show: Mystery Ranch, Loophole Optics, Secure It, Barnes Bullets, Silencer Central, Browning. And guys, it is almost that special time of year where it is September, and those elk are going to be screaming at us with snot shooting out of their nostrils and tears flowing out of our eyeballs because we missed or whatever and messed it up. And if you want the calls for that, jump on PhelpsGameCalls.com and use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off. I highly recommend that pink, the Maverick, the white amp. I have one of those white amps sitting around somewhere. My wife, I swear she comes in here and cleans my desk, and I don't know where she puts my pens or my elk calls, but I had a white amp sitting around here, and it's pretty impressive. It's a great call.
Best call there is.
Yeah, it really.
I go Predator call too.
Yeah, all of those amp calls make great Predator calls, and my go-to is definitely the Maverick. But I have called in elk with all of them that I'm mentioning. I have not called in. I called in an elk with a gray once, and I've done pretty okay on that black. Other than that, I don't really know. But anyway, guys, I always like to throw that out in kind of this midsummer as we start really closing in on September. Please support Phelps Game Calls. They are the original sponsor of this show, and you can use promo code Huntsman10. Thanks again, Josh. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week, same time, same channel. You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.